Okay, so we are going to need a plains, and we're eventually going to need 2 cards of plains. So let's start getting some plains on the board. And let's start bringing these guys out. This will be a good shred right here because we're gonna bring out like 4 points of damage potential in the first 2 turns. And there's probably not going to be a lot that he's going to be able to do about it. Because having seen the way most of these AI decks are built, they seem to really focus on mid to late game, and they seem pretty susceptible to the early game stuff. If you can just get them to pounce. Yeah, it's always how it goes, man. You say you're gonna win and you end up losing. I shouldn't have been so confident about it. I probably would have pulled it out. It's the game's way of punishing me. Right. Well, you can see we're already off to a much better start here because we've got 3 creatures that can each do 2 points of damage out, and he doesn't even have anything to defend with yet. So this will be more of an example of how this deck is supposed to work, I think. He's got a multi-land card too, so he must have more than just red in his deck. Alright. So this needs 1 and 1 to get a 2/2 out. I might as well drop my multi-land now because I only need 2 mana, and since this will come in tapped, this is a good turn to do that. I can do that and still throw this guy, and then attack with the 3 guys I already have out. This is going to be painful for him. And the other good thing is this guy buffs a guy for the turn. So this guy will do an extra point of damage this turn. We're going to slap him pretty hard here. But I think this is a really good example of how these kinds of games really come down to the luck of the draw. Like obviously I got a much different start to this game than I had last game, and it's just because the cards came up in a different order and I had a different set of cards to start with. I guess I should roll red here. But it's just, you know, I'm using the exact same deck that I was using last game, but you can see the game is going much differently, you know, just because of the way things are come up. I don't know what this AI is doing. He must have all high-level cards in his deck. He must need a ton of mana to cast anything. But unless he gets something pretty significant out here next turn, he could be done before he even gets to field anything. Because at this point, only 2 of my guys have to get through to finish him off. So unless he can get at least 3 creatures out that can block something, he might be done. There's a 2/2, not too worried about that. Oh, except for the fact that it could do that. Alright, the creature. Oh, there's our flyer. That's cool. Let's throw our... I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll throw the plane. Get our flyer back out. And I think this might be it, because I think he is only going to block 1 of these guys, and they all do 2. I think he might be done. Woohoo! Now that was much easier than the last one by a pretty wide margin there. That's what I'm talking about. Give me your gold. Give me your gold. Okay. So that puts us at 440. Now I could be a punk and just play on medium to get to 450, but what's the fun in that? I think we should play hard again and get a little extra. I think I'll play one more hard. Hopefully it'll go well, and then we'll open some packs, and then I'll probably take a quick little break, and we'll switch over to some Rocket League because I definitely want to play some competitive matches in that today. Okay. We got our double land. Takes 2. There's our flyers. Yeah, we're definitely plains or white mana heavy on this hand. I don't really like the fact that I can't get anything out super quick, but these cards are useful. Let's try to make it a little more challenging. We've seen how quickly this deck can wreck shop. Let's try to make this one a little more challenging for ourselves. So we're gonna go ahead. We can't cast anything this first turn anyway, so let's get the double mana down and get that out of the way. See what we draw on the next turn. We drew a mana. That was unfortunate. I was really hoping for something else. Oh well. We'll draw, or we'll do this. And then we'll get this guy out. He's got 2 mana types as well. So let's see, what do we want to throw here? That's another double. I want to get that out just yet though. Let's get our flyer out. Prioritize that. So what we want to do is get another plane down, and we can throw that. Now we can start attacking. Now what's good is if he ends up killing that guy, he's going to take 2 points of damage for doing it. That's why even though that guy's only a 1/1, he's actually kind of useful because he basically becomes unkillable because the guy doesn't want to kill him and risk taking the damage from it. Unless it gets really annoying. Okay, let's see, what can we throw here? Get up to 4, that's not quite enough to throw that. Can throw this though if I play that. Then we play this. We're gonna buff our... Let's see, I'm gonna buff our flyer. Yeah, we'll buff our flyer. That gives him 2/2. And we're also gonna drop this enchantment on him so that if he does get blocked, he will wreck that other flyer. Unfortunately, I can't play this as an instant, so I have to do it ahead of time, but I think it'll still be worth it because I don't see this flyer not benefiting from that. Let's go ahead and throw the madness, see what he does. There definitely are. I've definitely seen 3/1s. They're pretty common. And because you can get spells to buff them, they can easily turn into a 6/1. Like that spell that I just put on my flying guy, that gave him 2 extra attack. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely create basically like glass cannons, if you're familiar with that term, for sure. And by the same token, you can make creatures that don't do any damage but have a ton of defense. So basically like walls, for lack of a better term. Let's see. So this guy is going to eat 2 damage because he killed my guy that explodes. So that's going to take out his flyer. All right, excellent. And now my flyer stays alive with 3 damage because he's still got that enchantment that I threw on him. So this is actually pretty good. I haven't actually taken any damage yet this game, and I've already got him down to 11, and I'm not even playing that aggressively. Like, this isn't that aggressive an initial play. Just because the creatures that I've gotten are taking a little longer to get onto the field. This flying dude's pretty baller. Let's see if we can get him. We're not going to be able to get him into the mix because this land's going to come in tapped this turn. But we'll play it, and then we'll be able to get him in next turn. Oh wait, no, that land didn't come in tapped. That's nice. Well, in that case... Woohoo! Alright, now things are going to get real bleak for this dude. Do this. Yeah, I figured he'd probably block that. That's normal though. See, throwing that enchantment on my flyer was a really good move because he gets, even though he's really weak, even though he's only a 1, he gets double strike. So he gets, because I put that +2 attack on him, he's doing 6 per turn now instead of 2 that he would normally do. So that's where enchantments become really powerful in a situation like that. And I actually had this particular combination I had in mind whenever I was building this deck, because I was like, if I can put the enchantment on the guy who does 2 attacks, that would really make him pretty badass. Alright, I don't think it's going to matter here, because I don't think he can block me. So that's good. That puts me in a pretty good spot. Let's see, enchant creature. Granted creature gets +1/+2 and has flying. That's funny. Well, you know what? This will be funny, right? So 2 and 2. I think I can do this. Let's give this guy a buff of his own. So we'll throw him out, and we'll give him flying as well, because why not? I don't want to waste it on the guy who already has flying. I'm just going to give it to him instead. But here's where you can see where, like, these enchantments, right, like these additions you can make to your cards, make them way more cool and powerful than they otherwise would be. That's kind of neat. But I think, like I said, this is going to be game right here, because I'm going to hit him twice. Oh no, I'm sorry. The guy who can hit twice died. So this guy's just going to hit him once. That'll take him down to 1. And because I enchanted this other guy, even if he ends up attacking, it won't matter. Let's see, what ability does he have? Target creature or player. Oh, okay. Well, let's do that. Let's just finish him with that special ability on that card. Die, sucker! That works. I will take that all day, every day. Yeah, so charge in this game is haste. So basically when you summon a card, normally you have to wait a turn before you can attack with it, but if it has the haste ability on it, you can use it as soon as you play the card. So that's kind of like the same thing as charge in Hearthstone. And yes, I have played a lot of Hearthstone. Um, I have actually played pretty much all of the classes in Hearthstone. Actually, if you look on my channel here on Twitch, on my highlights, there's like a ton of Hearthstone videos from back when I used to play it. And actually, the only reason I stopped playing Hearthstone is because I started getting a little frustrated with the game because I felt like with a lot of the expansions and stuff that they did on that game, it felt like the game was becoming more random and more about just luck. And that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to assess this new version of Magic to kind of see how the decks felt and whether or not it felt like you could actually build a deck in a more strategic way and not have it rely so much on just the luck of the draw. Because traditionally, that's always been the strength of Magic, right? Is that you could build a deck in a way where you weren't so dependent on getting the right cards at the right time, and you could actually make a strategy that you could use in a bunch of different ways to actually win the game. And I feel like that's how Hearthstone was when I first started playing it. It felt like it had that kind of structure to it, but with like all the new expansions and all the different cards and stuff that they've added, I feel like the game has become so random and there's so many like hard swings where it's like you're doing so well, like you almost are like undamaged, and then all of a sudden somebody draws some card and it just decimates you in like a turn or two, and it feels like I don't know, almost like cheap in a way that it kind of really turned me off to the game. Because honestly, I probably would still be playing Hearthstone if I hadn't had so many bad experiences with it since the latest expansions had come out. But yeah, if you like Hearthstone videos, I mean, my stuff's a little out of date now because I haven't played in a while. But like, there's lots of deck building and arenas and playing specific classes and stuff like that. There's tons of that stuff on my channel actually. So yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to say with Magic whether or not it's actually a more strategic game at this point. Like obviously back in the day, I used to play the original trading card game when it first came out in the 90s. And I played the base game and the Arabian Nights expansion, and that's kind of where I got out of playing the actual trading card game. So obviously, there's been tons of stuff that's happened with Magic over the years. I mean, they've basically rebuilt the whole game like 5 or 6 times, and kind of reset, the cards that get played and what like are considered normal strategies and stuff like that. Like back when I first started playing Magic, you would build entire decks that only used one color, and that was like a pretty common thing to do. And I guess people still do that, but it's not as common as it used to be. Um, and now it's like a lot more about like lands that can be used as multiple colors and having like artifacts and planeswalkers and enchantments and stuff. Like there's a lot more complexity to the game than there used to be, but I feel like my gut feeling on this game, having played it the past couple of days, is that it feels more strategic. It feels like I have more of a say in what happens, especially when you talk about building your own custom deck and actually making the deck from scratch. It feels like you have a lot that you can do to make a difference in the way the game turns out, and you're not so dependent on just what order the cards come up in. Um, because it doesn't feel like there are a lot of really unbalanced cards in here. Like there are definitely some cards that are kind of OP, I guess for lack of a better term, but they're not so overpowering that you can't work around them in terms of how you build your deck. I think the only way this game is suffering right now is in the story mode missions where you have to use the deck that they give you and you can't customize it. I feel like the decks they give you are a little underpowered for the decks that you're going up against, and that can be a little bit frustrating. So like it'll probably take me a long time to get through all this story mode stuff because I played this guy this first mission like 4 times and couldn't get past it. And this one, I got past the first mission, but it took 2 or 3 attempts. So, you know, it's a little bit frustrating to have to use the cards that they give you. Like, I definitely feel like the game is better and it's more enjoyable and more uh, exciting to play in the battle mode where you can actually build your own deck from the cards that they give you and what you get from the booster packs and stuff. And it's definitely cool that they let you play against other people or play against the AI, or you can even play co-op like with a friend against another team of two, which is pretty cool. That's what this two-headed giant mode is. It's basically like 2v2, which is a cool feature that Magic has had for a while that even like Hearthstone doesn't have. So if you do want to play co-op with somebody else, um, you have that option in this game. Although I was reading on the forums, and I actually need to check this and be sure. I think maybe you can't choose who you play with. I think it just match makes you into a game, which I think. Okay, no, you can invite your teammate. Okay, so I guess people were just wrong about that. So yeah, I think like playing this with a friend would be super fun, right? Um, especially if you're coordinating on voice chat or whatever, and you're trying to work together to win, against another team of two. I think that's like a cool, unique feature that this game has over something like Hearthstone, like just right off the bat, like even not even talking about the meta game of the card game itself, but just in terms of like a cool, unique feature. I think that's something worth pointing out. Um, let's see. Yeah, I feel like Hearthstone is become a lot more like a game of chance than a game of skill, and that's for sure um, a problem that I have with it. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I probably have to give it another chance at some point. Like maybe wait for them to be done with expansions or whatever, or see like how if they do some balancing or whatever. Like I did have a lot of fun when I was playing it. I just ended up getting frustrated because I didn't like the way the game was going. But the way I feel about a lot of games is as long as they're still actively developing the game and making changes to it, even if I don't like it right now, like if a patch comes out or something changes, I'll go back and I'll give it another chance just to see if it's gotten better or whatever, because my whole thing is there's so many games out there that you could be playing at any given moment. Like if a game isn't the way you like it, or they do something bad to it, you just go play something else for a while and see if they fix it later. So I probably will go back to Hearthstone at some point and check it out. But for right now, I think this Magic game will kind of scratch that itch for me, uh, at least for a little while. But I think what I'm gonna do, like I say, is open up some packs and see what kind of cards we get from these booster packs. And I think that's probably going to do it for Magic for today on the stream. So it looks like I have to spend 300 to get these two. Purchasing. Purchasing. Do it faster. Okay, good. Success. We'll open up these and see what we get. Alright, let's check these guys out. I'll save the best card for last. Usually the one in the bottom right is your best card. So let's see, this creature is cool. Flying, blue creature. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I don't know if you guys were watching or not. So usually blue decks and white decks have a lot of flying creatures in them. So like a blue-white deck, like if you're into flying creatures and you think that mechanic is cool, those are the kind of cards you're going to be excited about or focus on, is like these blue and white flying creatures. That's like what you would like. These are like a fundamental creature that you would build a deck like that around. Because this guy only costs one blue and two of any other color mana, two attack, three defense, and flying. So that's a pretty solid, like, all-around creature for like a flying deck for sure. Let's see what we got here. Another blue. This takes one blue and three of something else. So when he comes into the battlefield, oh, okay, I've seen this card before. You can return a target creature to its owner's hand. So where this is good is like, say somebody's playing a creature against you and they've put an enchantment on it and it's jacking you up, and you want to get rid of that enchantment. You play this guy, force them to take the creature back into their hand. The enchantment gets burned, and worst case scenario, they play the creature again, but it doesn't have the enchantment on it anymore. Kind of a high mana cost, but when you consider that ability is pretty rare and doesn't seem to occur on a lot of cards, maybe worth it, and maybe something that I would put into a blue deck if I were building one. I guess the Hearthstone equivalent of this would be like Silence. I think that's what it is in Hearthstone, where you like remove the special effects of a creature. I think that's right. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, I've seen this one in the story mode too. I don't like this special ability. Sacrifice a creature, and you only get 2/2 +2/+2 for a turn. Like if it was like, if well, obviously it was +2/+2 forever, that would be amazing. But even if it was like +1/+1 forever instead of +2/+2 for a turn, I would like this card a lot better. But that's I, I can see where there is lots of circumstances where this could be useful, but I'm not in love with that ability. I think like there's better cards you could be putting into a black deck for that mana cost versus something like this. That's just my 2 cents. So let's see. This is a so you notice that these ones that only cost mana and don't require a particular type of mana are usually referred to as artifacts. That's just kind of like a way that they categorize or classify their cards in this game. But basically, you can put this on a creature and it'll give it +2/+0. So it's kind of like that enchantment that I did in the last game that I played. And I guess the difference is some cards affect enchantments and some cards affect artifacts, right? So if the enemy player has a card that can remove an enchantment, this card might be good to play against them because it's an artifact and won't be affected by that. So I think you could almost count like artifacts like weapons. They just did an update and nothing changed. That sucks. Yeah. That's actually not surprising to me. That's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't been looking at it lately. I feel like I need to let some time pass before I go back to that well. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. 1/3, 1 red and 2 any color. So when they enter the battle, put 1/1 colorless artifact. Okay. So basically they get like a helper, like a 1/1 artifact helper creature to attack with them. So basically you're getting 2 creatures for that 3 mana cost. Although the other one is only a 1/1, but I could see that being useful. I might throw that in a deck, just for fun to mix it up. I could see myself playing that card. All right, so this should be our big one here. Yeah, so this is our legendary creature. That's a 2/1 for a 1 mana cost. And let's see. At the end of combat, and at least 2 other creatures attacked this combat. Oh wow, so you exile him and return him to the... Wow. Okay, that's weird. That seems like a very specific, like, situational thing. It's like you want him to die so that he comes back. I'm not sure I think sometimes these rules get a little too specific and a little too weird about like what you have to do to actually trigger something to happen. I'm gonna have to reread this one later when I'm not on stream and I have more time to sit down and ponder it. My kind of gut feeling about this one is that it's cool that it only costs one mana and it's a 2/1 creature, and clearly it's got a like cool ability associated with it, but I'm not sure how how often you'll get to use that. You know, it seems kind of situational, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it doesn't seem like, even though that ability is cool, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing you're going to be able to use all the time. So I think you mostly want this creature because it only costs one mana and it can do 2 damage, and the ability is just like an added bonus, really. That's kind of my thinking on that. Okay, next booster. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, so here we have an enchantment. I like those. Hmm. Non-land permanent enchantment. I like those too. Okay. Can't attack or block. Activated abilities can't be activated. So that's pretty sweet. Like if there's a enemy creature that's giving you a hard time, this seems like a real like screw you card. You know, like if somebody got a dragon or some like, you know, hardcore creature that's just wrecking you, this seems like the thing you could drop on them to just shut them up. But notice, this is an enchantment, so if somebody has something that can remove enchantments, obviously they could use that to get rid of this, but it really depends on what kind of deck you're coming up against. Like some decks are so creature focused that they don't even factor enchantments in. So if you know, are playing against somebody like that, you might be able to really wreck them with something like this. That's a pretty sweet card, I think. That's definitely something I'd put in a white deck for sure. Let's see, this 2/1. So like here's a good example, right? Like this card costs 3 mana to get a 2/1 creature, whereas that other one only costs one. So you see the difference between the legendary and the regular. Now, when this guy enters the battle, they get a 1/1 colorless artifact. So kind of similar to that other creature we looked at, where they basically get another artifact creature with them for their mana cost. It's just kind of a different twist on that. And whereas that one was a 1/3 creature, this one's a 2/1, so a little bit more aggressive than the other one. The other one is more of a defense kind of turtling type creature. Interesting. Let's see, 3/1 or three of any mana, 1 green mana, 2/2 creature. When they enter the battlefield, to then reveal the. Yes, these ones that affect cards, I'm generally not a huge fan of. Like, I know there's a lot of decks that get built around the idea of drawing cards or swapping cards or moving cards from the graveyard into the library or making the other player burn their cards and stuff like that. And I feel like there probably is like a good strategy that you could build around card manipulation in this game, but it's not really my favorite way to play. So cards like this generally don't appeal to me too much. And I think the mana cost of it and the fact that the creature is not that powerful would probably lead me to not choose a card like this. But depending on what kind of deck you want to build, this could be useful for sure. Let's check this out. So, tapped artifacts. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Okay. Okay, so I can tap them and direct damage based on that. Okay. I mean, there are some artifacts that don't normally do any damage, so being able to tap like a passive artifact that's just sitting around doing like a buff or something like that to cause damage to happen could be useful. I don't know that I like the mana cost of that though. Like if it costs like 1 or 2 mana to do that, that might be more appealing. But 3 seems a little steep for what that card's actually doing. But it depends. Like if you're building an artifact heavy deck where you've got tons of artifacts on the field, a card like this could be useful. Um, Again, that's not a style that I typically play in a game like this, so I may not be assessing that card properly because it's not the way I usually roll. So let's see, 1 black and 4 of any color. Okay, I've seen this in the campaign. So yeah, destroy any non-zombie creature. It can't be regenerated, and return up to 1 target zombie card from your graveyard. So I've actually used this a couple of times in the campaign to decent effect. Basically, if you have a good card of yours that gets burned and sent to the graveyard, you can use this card to kill an enemy and simultaneously get your card that you lost back into your hand. So the mana cost is pretty high, which is kind of a bummer, but because I have seen this card used effectively, I would consider putting this in. I think the determining factor for putting a card like this in your black deck is, do you have enough creatures that are big enough and powerful enough that they would be worth saving from the graveyard? Like if all you've got is a bunch of little scrub creatures in your deck, a card like this probably isn't going to help you very much. But if you've got, a bunch of like 4/5 or 5/5 or 6/5 or whatever creatures, and you want to be able to yank one of them back out of the graveyard and get it back into your hand, a card like this could be money, basically. All right, so big card, no whammies. Oh, cool, man. No problem. Thanks for hanging out. Um, be sure to follow if you like what you're seeing and you want to see more. I probably will play some more of this on stream at some point. Um, so yeah, definitely good times. Let's see what we got here. Let me try to get through these before you go, because like I say, I'm going to be switching games after this anyway. So let's see if we can wrap this up. This legendary creature, 2/2, mana cost kind of high, special abilities kind of crazy. That's sacrificing the artifact thing. So that's something you want to consider with this creature, is to use their special ability, you'd need to have artifacts in play. So if you're not building a heavy artifact deck, this is probably not a creature you'd consider. But if you are, maybe. Uh, Dealing the 2 damage to the target creature for sacrificing the artifact. I mean, you'd have to have a ton of artifacts in play for this to be useful. So it's a pretty situational card in my view. But that's just kind of my gut feeling about it. So let's go ahead and return to the store. And we've got one more pack we can open. We do this 150 here. All right. Open says me. All right, so let's look at the legendary first. We'll get that out of the way. Creature. Actually, we didn't get a legendary. That's weird. Usually you do. It's flying. 2/1 for 3 mana cost. Nothing there really knocking my socks off. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Yeah, that's probably a creature I would not use. I don't like anything that affects my casting costs. I think that's probably a throwaway card for me, to be honest. Let's see, creature. Oh, here's a 3/1 for only a 3 mana cost. That's pretty decent, actually. Enter the battlefield. Each player sacrifices a creature. Oh man, that's some salty earth stuff right there. I guess depending on the kind of deck you're building and what your overall strategy is, this could be useful, but it seems a little situational for my taste. It's interesting though. Um, so we got a flyer. So this would be like a if but I was talking before about those blue-white decks that are focused on flying creatures. This would definitely be a card that you'd be looking at for that, um, for sure. You may cast this spell only. Oh, anytime. I see. You could cast an instant. Okay, cool. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. Yeah, this is a big time card. If I were building a blue white flying deck, I would definitely 100% put this card in. This is a sweet card for sure. That is a nice card. That's probably the best card I've gotten all day, honestly. That is all right. The so one in a thing. Enchantment. +1/+1. It has whenever this creature attacks, player. Yeah, it's a nice enchantment. That's a good enchantment. I'd put that in a white deck for sure. The bonus and the tapping effect together for that low mana cost. That's pretty sweet. That's a good card. We're lucking out in this last pack, man. We got some good stuff. Target creature goes 1/1 till end of turn. For each creature you control. See, I was hating on this card right until I got to the for each creature you control part. That's an awesome card for 1 mana cost. Like imagine having 5 or 6 little scrub creatures out and then dropping this. Oh, you could wreck some face with that. And it's an instant, so you can wait to see whether or not the enemy blocks you and then just wreck them. Yeah, that's 3 excellent cards in this pack. That's pretty amazing. That's a great pack. So let's see, 3 plus a black for 2/2. This guy enters any 2 other. This is another card manipulation one. Again, like I said before, with the green one. Oh, okay. Actually, this is the green one. I misread it. It's that same one I saw before. Okay, so we already have one of these. But yeah, these 3 cards, this one, and this one, mm, so good, so tasty, so tasty. The flesh-eating marauder, is that this one? Yeah, that one was so 1 black and 2 of any color. I definitely would consider this. I don't think this is as solid a card as these 3 are for sure. Like these 3 are like no brainers. Like absolutely, I would put these 3 in a deck. This one would be a little more situational, but I would definitely consider using it for sure. And then these other 2 are more like the throwaways. Like this is one I would almost never even consider using, and this one I would only use if I was doing like a card manipulation deck, which is pretty unlikely, honestly, given how I like to play. But these 4, man, this was a good pack. This was a really good booster for sure, especially compared to the other 2 that I opened. This was solid. So I just got to look at this flying guy one more time because he's so baller. He's so baller. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Okay, that's enough of that. So let's see. I guess before I quit the game, I just wanted to point out there is a quest system in this game. So if you're used to Hearthstone, you'll get like a daily quest. I actually already completed mine, which was the win 2 battles with uh, the red and white deck, or red and blue. So since I was using my red and white custom deck, I did that. And then you see there's these community challenges, right, where it's like everybody has to do this thing. And actually, that's the reason I was trying to win that one campaign mission earlier, is because I'd like to contribute to this community quest. Because the more of us that do it, the better chance we all have of getting this 40 gold. So I probably will try to do that again at some point before the timer on this quest runs out. But I think it's cool how they have individual quests and community quests. I feel like that's a smart move and another way that it kind of distinguishes itself from other trading card games a little bit. I definitely like that.